Next slide, please. Our inducting officer tonight is a product of the North meeting the South. He was born to a Batangueña mother from Tanawan, Batangas. Adelina Umali Castillo was a pharmacist. And his father was a Bulakenyo from Malolos, Bulacan. Ananias Chongson Crisostomo was a mining engineer. As you can see in the picture, he's the cutest because he's the youngest of 6 accomplished siblings. Ever since he was been a student achiever, he graduated with Latin honors in pre-med and in medicine at that time when getting a Latin honors was really a challenge. He got the leadership award on graduation as well as the most outstanding student of the class. The year after, he was awarded the most outstanding intern when he interned at Broken Shire Memorial Hospital in Davao City. And the following year, during the medical board examinations, he ranked number 4 in the 1982 board examinations, shown here with his parents. He is a skilled surgeon. He finished his general surgery and ended up as a chief resident at the Philippine General Hospital and underwent fellowship in colon and rectal surgery soon after. The following year, he went on rotating visiting fellowship in colon and rectal surgery in United Kingdom, St. Mark's Hospital, as well as in Ohio and Minnesota in 1989. And learning never stops. Also studied on advanced course in laparoscopic colorectal surgery, as well as a course on TME and pelvic dissection in Thailand and a laparoscopic course in hernia surgery in Malaysia. This is a bit of a busy slide. I placed it here just to acknowledge his accomplishments, among them being awarded as the 10th Outstanding Young Scientist in 1995, being an international guest scholar of the American College of Surgeons, so many publications, and most importantly, being awarded the Outstanding Medical Teacher in Clinical Science in the UP College of Medicine in 2002, and holder of numerous professorial chairs. The gist of this slide and the next is Sir Sana All. That's why the most outstanding professional in health education, faculty achievement awardee, Dr. Jose P. Rizal Memorial Awardee, as distinguished physician from the academic and research category in 2009. Knights of the Knife awardee from the PCS Metro Manila chapter, Outstanding Educator Award, Memorial Lecturer, and of course the Legend of the Knife awardee of the Philippine College of Surgery. As I said, these 2 slides I included them just to list his accomplishments and sabi, Sir, sana all. But tonight, we'll focus a bit on his educational leadership. And in 1992, he conceived the idea of forming an organization with the primary objective of addressing the educational need of training officers of the training programs in various specialties. And so PATOS, Philippine Association of Training Officers in Surgery, was born. And he was the founding secretary in 1992 and soon became a president 1998 to the year 2000. And up to this date, he continues to serve as a resource person and for training and educational activities of PATOS. And PATOS is now a leading affiliate specialty organization under the Philippine College of Surgeons. But tonight, Dr. Crisostomo has been associated with the Philippine Board of Surgery since 1994, initially as an examiner and later as one of the directors of the board. And he became the chairman of the board in 2006 and the executive director in 2008 to 2017. During those times, he sharpened his knife, not the surgical knife, but his skills. Went on to complete a master's degree in health professional education in NTTC UP Manila, and served as an affiliate faculty of the NTTC in health professions education, specializing in the subject of test construction, of which I was one of his students, if you still recall, and many more passed under him. And of course, a trainer's course on quality assurance and improvement from the World Health Organization. I wrote here his accomplishments, PGH, UPCM, and UP Manila, again, for purposes of being comprehensive and to complete it from coordinator to training, to assistant director for health operations, from UP alumni, Medical Society President-elect and Chair of the Medical Education Unit, and eventually an Associate Dean for Planning and Research at the UP College of Medicine. For busy slide, I always say, sir, sana all. But for surgical training, he has served with definitely distinction. In the Department of Surgery, serving in various capacities, from the division chief to being an executive officer. But he did not only use his talents for the university, but shared it with others. He became a training officer. He became a training officer of the Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center. And he also became a chair of the Department of Surgery of the Manila Doctors Hospital in 2001 to 2004. And his graduates achieved a 100 passing rate in the certifying exam from a previous passing rate of less than 50%. He's an accomplished surgical leader, the president of the Philippine College of Surgeons, which I will talk about later, the chair of the board, the president of the Philippine Society of Colorectal Surgery, and outside the country of the ASEAN Society of Colorectal Surgery. Sabi ko nga, sir, pag ganito, sana all. But tonight, we'll talk about this Philippine Board of Surgery, his love and passion for the Philippine Board of Surgery. So he had so much training workshops for the examiners. So he has consistently served as a facilitator of workshop programs to improve the competency of PBS examiners in constructing test questions for written exams and developing standardized oral exam modules. Hindi siya napapagod sa lecture and kasalita. Remember the competency-based format for RITE? So the conversion of the annual PBS RITE to a competency-based format, meaning there is a separate examination for different year levels of residency training program. For Set A, for 4th year and 5th year, for Set B, for 3rd years, and for Set C, 1st and 2nd year. This improves the validity and relevance of this annual examination to residents in general surgery from all over the Philippines. Here, Dr. Perez, I think, and Dr. Benserga, they're doing a module-based rating scale for oral examination. He developed the concept of standardizing the case scenarios utilized for the PBS oral exams and utilized standardized case-based rating scales that significantly improve the reliability and fairness in the PBS oral exams. I'm showing here, I looked at the articles. This is a publication in the Journal of Surgical Education. And this is the publication born out of that concept and initiative, Journal of Surgical Education, peer-reviewed journal. We also develop, this is the examiner assessment for oral examiners here. Dr. Boytan, sir, remember you're observing. Nandito si Minda at saka si, I think, Dr. Sheila Macalindong. And this is a assessment, there is an assessment tool to evaluate the performance of oral examiners of the PBS to improve the quality of the oral examinations. This is also an, for those examinees in their homes, remember your examinee assessment of written and oral exams. He developed an assessment form that allows the examinees to give feedback on the difficulty and fairness of the written and oral exams of the PBS. Buti na lang, lahat ng exams ay fair. At saka magandang pagkagawa. Thank you, Dr. Tisson. So he conceptualized this new practice of including the examinee's performance in their previous RITE's computation of the Part 1 score to determine their final Part 1 score. I think Dr. Bococampo expounded on it in his address earlier. This practice increases the validity of the Part 1 and encourages resident trainees to take their RITE exams seriously, as their scores in the RITE may affect their performance in the certifying exam. So today, our board is regarded as one of the most credible and respected certifying boards in the country. Palakpak naman ang content. So in recognition of this expertise, Dr. Crisostomo was invited by the College of Surgeons of Malaysia to serve as an external assessor for their conjoint boards in surgery, the first Filipino to serve in such capacity. And remember Dr. Sai and Dr. Montenegro and the rest of the board. Dr. Crisostomo was unanimously elected to chair the PCS Council on Surgical Specialty Boards in 2019. Right, Dr. Paulina? I think Dr. Dino Bonga. Of course, as PCS president in 2008, I wrote here his trust on education. Of course, the president organized the scientific programs, but more importantly, he developed a standardized curriculum and evaluation system implemented in 1995 and is still used up to the present time. He authored the Primary Care Surgery Manual, which was recognized by NAST as an outstanding publication for 1996. And of course, he spearheaded, meron na sir Part 2.0 na national, hindi na surgical manpower, human resource study na sa time ni Dr. Sai. He also made a handbook for biomedical journal editors as well as a curriculum on professionalism, which were his trusts. He is a known media personality, likes to speak his mind, and he is a health advocate on so many issues. He is a lecturer par excellence and talking about his health advocates and his passion. As they say, you could Google now today a person to see his accomplishments. I Googled him last night. I found that he had 126 citations and 5 high index journals and 5 on I-10 index journals. And if you will look at the bottom half, from 2003, he has already published and continues to publish up to 2021. So it's consistent and present. He is an accomplished sportsman, left-handed. I think idol niya si Rafael Nadal, by the way. He dresses at the tennis court and by the way he looks when he is hitting his mean forehand. He is a fan of basketball. Medyo school na siya, but the best left-hand shooter in NBA history is Chris Mullen, actually. And he is a spot-up shooter in the mid-range as well as in long range. But and his idol is really a left-handed person also, because he's also a coach like Phil Jackson and has also won multiple rings and championships as a coach. Today, if you are a millennial, you would have your own YouTube channel. He has his own YouTube channel. He has 1,420 videos in his YouTube channel because he believes he is forever young. And in his YouTube channel, I will show you that he loves dancing. May music ba to? So he has choreographed a dance video in his YouTube channel. Wala bang music to? So, and next, in his video also, how do we move? And so that's in his office. And in his YouTube video, he has written his favorites. He has sung his favorite songs. Sorry, wala lang audio. And he's singing here in one of his favorite songs. I think he sang it during the orientation for young faculty. Yung Nais Ko by Basil Valdez. So I had the privilege of growing up with his family and kids from Julian, Anjo, and his family there. And of course, it's now grown. He has now an apo. And of course, his the apple of his eyes is apo, Jules. And that's, I think he pines for the day where he could travel and visit his apo, Jules, again, who's based in Europe, a daughter of his son, Francis. And the past chair of the Philippine Board of Surgery, the past president of the Philippine College of Surgeons, a professor 12 of the Division of Colorectal Surgery, Department of Surgery, and presently the Vice Chancellor for Research, University of the Philippines, Manila. Colleagues, could we give a big round of applause for our inducting officer tonight, Dr. Armando C. Crisostomo.
Thank you, Rodney. No other compare could have done it better or longer than what you did. To those viewing us tonight, both physically and virtually, a pleasant good evening to all of you. Of course, the PCS Board of Regents, led by the outgoing president, Dr. Tony Sai, is here. The Philippine Society for General Surgeons, led by their president, Dr. George Concepcion, was also one of my former trainees. And some of their board members are here as well. To the Philippine Board of Surgery, Board of Directors, both outgoing and incoming. And all the examiners, the dedication that you have shown through these trying times. And of course, to the future of surgery, the diplomates who were inducted tonight. I chose this topic, surgical leadership, because I knew that one way or another, I will be speaking tonight in front of some of the past leaders of surgery. Tonight, we have with us most of the leaders, current leaders in surgery. And as I look at the diplomates, we will be addressing the future leaders of the surgical profession. But first of all, a congratulations. Congratulations to the new board and the new diplomates. You all face challenges with strength, determination, and confidence. And that is what matters. And you have done it. Congratulations. Let's give a big hand, both to the board and the new diplomates. But I take special mention of 3 people. These include Dr. Bok Ocampo, the outgoing chair, and the first one in modern history to have served chair of the board for 2 years. The incoming chair, Dr. Noneng Monroy, and the incoming vice chair who introduced me. There's one thing that they have in common. All 3 of them were my students, former trainees, and former residents at the Philippine General Hospital. And I've always believed in the quotation set forth by this man, that it is the greatest achievement of a teacher to enable his students to eventually surpass him. And I have no doubt in my mind that these 3 people will someday give me that great achievement by surpassing whatever modest achievements I have accomplished in my professional career. I believe that sincerely. Let's begin by a definition. Leadership is a process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and direct the organization that he is leading in a way that makes it more cohesive and coherent. It's the ability and activity of leading a group of people or an organization. The leaders become accountable for the success or failure of that organization. Dwight Eisenhower, the president who preceded John F. Kennedy, said that leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he or she, you convince them that they want to do it now. These are the important elements of leadership. We need to establish a clear vision, where to go, and then sharing that vision with others so that they will follow willingly and enabling them to achieve that vision by providing the information, knowledge, and methods to realize that vision. And perhaps the most difficult, coordinating and balancing the conflicting interests of all the members and stakeholders. It's important quotation, which I hope will be one of the most important take-home messages we will have tonight. Leadership is not a position or title. It is more of action and being able to set an example. Barbara Bass, in an excellent dissertation, discussed the ways in which people become leaders. The first theory is that a crisis or important event may cause a person to rise to the occasion. The so-called great event or great man theory. This is probably exemplified by this man. Maybe only a few of them you will recognize him, especially the diplomates. This is Winston Churchill, who gained recognition when he became Prime Minister of England at the height of the Second World War. But Winston Churchill was actually, at the start, a mediocre politician. He lost many of his initial elections, losing even in an election as mayor. But also, by today's standards, Winston Churchill would have been labeled as a political butterfly. as he shifted from the Labor to the Conservative Party, which was considered, quite dishonorable during that time. But it was the Second World War, that great event that thrust him and brought out the leadership skills. The second is to believe that some personality traits are actually inherently possessed by certain people that naturally acquire leadership roles, or the so-called born leader or trait theory. This is perhaps exemplified by this man, John F. Kennedy. Despite all his personality flaws, his weaknesses, his womanizing, his failures during his presidency, the failed invasion of Cuba, the Cuban Missile disaster, the many times that he failed to assassinate Fidel Castro. Despite all these failures, this man was well on his way to being elected to a second term until he was felled by an assassin's bullet in Dallas, Texas, November 22, 1963. But let us not despair if we are not great men in great events or do not have the inherent charisma or magnetic personality. Most of us can still hope to become leaders because we can learn leadership skills. This is what we call the transformational or process leadership theory. Of course, he passed away not too long ago, one of our idols, General Colin Powell, when he said, the most important thing I learned is that soldiers do what their leaders do. You can give them classes and lecture them forever, but it is your personal example that they will follow. All of us have gone through basic education and specialty training, and we have all experienced that medical education really focuses more on the human body and delivery of patient care to those who are afflicted with various diseases. We experience very little training on the so-called other parts of the job, like running a business, motivating and mentoring your employees, developing an esprit de corps in a team, being able to negotiate deals, leveraging success, and learning from failures, or so-called resilience, which has become an important competency in the days of COVID. Nobody ever really taught us that in medical school. And so, many years ago, it was a fashion to be what we call traditional surgeon leaders. This was the kind of leadership that ruled in many institutions, not only here, but in the Western world. These people thrived on absolute authority, were autocratic. They practiced the command and controlled style of leadership. They thrived on hierarchical systems of having an autonomous consultant working with subservient staff. Leadership was often judged mostly by your individual accomplishments. However, the environment in surgery has been changing over the past decade and a half. These include rapid changes in surgical technology, the increasing complexity of surgical conditions requiring multidisciplinary teams. Our patients now have greater access to medical information, and may I say even misinformation. Not unusual for a patient to be consulting you, bringing with him or her readings and journals. Advances in surgical training have also changed the environment. Aside from increasing corporate structure, a lot of care is now being managed by so-called insurance companies or health management, which has removed the autonomy of many surgical practitioners, and there are now a lot of external regulatory oversights governing the practice of our profession. And these are the new now, leading to these new paradigms in surgical leadership. Michael, in his excellent dissertation, disclosed that the aristocratic dominating surgeon of the past has now been dethroned. The once autonomous and authoritative position of the surgeon caring for a surgical patient has now been altered so that we are now considered as collaborative leaders of high-performance, multidisciplinary teams. The Royal College of Surgeons mentioned that surgery is no longer a solitary act. The success of an individual surgeon is no longer dependent on him or her as the lone captain of the ship. The notion of the heroic leader is outdated and inappropriate in modern health care or health service. Safe and effective surgery is now team-based, with accountability and empowerment being more distributed across a team than invested in one individual leader. And these are now the newer styles of leadership and what they mean. They include participative, in which you invite input from people working under our charge for your decisions. Situational, where you adapt to a situation or task at hand, whether it be urgent, semi-urgent, or elective. Then there are the servant leaders who empower followers to live and work to their full potential, sharing power and putting the needs of followers first. And the latest of all is what we call the transformational leader, who encourages, inspires, and motivates, sets an example, and facilitates a change in the culture of his or her organization. Regardless of leadership philosophy, the following are the personality traits predictive of leadership effectiveness. These include emotional stability and resilience, some amount of extraversion, hindi naman yung masyadong galaw-gaw. You must be assertive. Conscientiousness, in which we are required to be personally organized, focus on goals, persisting without being distracted, hindi naman yung makulit, with a sense of duty. And these were all exhibited by our examiners and our board during these very trying times of the COVID, when we still had to go full sail with our examinations. The other characteristic of effective leadership in surgical teams, since we are now considered as leaders of teams, is that there should be clearly defined roles, especially in critical situations, a leadership style appropriate to the clinical situation, clear direction to the team from the leader, continuous seeking of input from team members and engaging team members in team-based decision-making. The attributes of good leadership is that we are required to act with integrity, be honest, open, and consistent, be accessible, being open to challenge and feedback, most of all being decisive, self-aware, mindful of our impact on others, and recognizing our own weaknesses and responses to stress and difficulties. These are the other important attributes. We should minimize status and power differences, being accessible, encouraging learning, both individual members of the team to the whole team, actively engaging to create a shared sense of teamwork that increases collaborative behaviors, and instilling a sense of responsibility in each person for the well-being of the whole team. Of course, this mention has been made of being able to encourage feedback, even challenged in our thought process and decisions. And in this era of safety, creating a culture of safety by surfacing and mitigating issues that might cause harm to our patients, and promoting a positive working environment through good teamwork. As surgeons, we tend to get recognized for the following traits which people think we all possess as surgeons. These include confidence, emotional detachment, being able to operate on a patient, make incisions, and not feel, too empathic with them. Being decisive, because of many crucial decisions we have to make. Attention to detail. And having courage. Matapang daw tayo eh. Malakas ang loob. Hindi natatakot humiwa. That's the same adjective that my brothers and sisters and relatives claim I have. But, well, it's not surprising, therefore, that because of these characteristics, it's not surprising to find surgeons in various leadership positions. In the Philippine General Hospital alone, the director is a neurosurgeon. St. Luke's, the president and CEO, is a former PBS chair, Dr. Art de la Peña. The medical director of the medical city is my classmate, Dr. Rafael Claudio, an orthopedic surgeon. And I know of at least 2 colleagues who are deans of medical schools. Dr. Mes Granada, one of our examiners as well, who is dean of West Visayas State University, and Dodi Alfonso, who is dean of the Ateneo College of Medicine and Public Health. But if these characteristics or traits are carried to a certain extreme, they can result in what we now sometimes call the dark side of surgery. Overconfidence can lead to being arrogant. Being too emotionally detached can lead to being lacking in empathy. Decisiveness can lead to being so self-centered that you do not allow other people to contribute to your decision, disempowering them. Attention to detail, when carried too far, will result in a person who is overly critical and demanding. Nothing else can satisfy him except his own. And courage can always lead to hubris. And at the opposite, that what we call the dark side of surgical leadership is a disruptive leader. Those who are dominant, arrogant, aggressive, intimidating others, who inhibit the learning and development of other team members by dismissing their questions or challenges, neglecting to share important information, promoting the existence of factions and rivalries within the team, inhibiting constructive feedback, and treating especially other non-clinical staff, like your support staff, office personnel, admin personnel, without due courtesy or respect. They say the judge of your character is often based on how you treat the little people, those who are at the bottom of the salary scale in your workplace. And there is also the so-called passive disruption, like being persistent non-attendance to key meetings. We all know we have colleagues like that. Refusal to abide by decisions agreed upon by the team, undermining colleagues by criticizing them in public, refusal to delegate to others, and failure to carry out proper patient handovers. These are just examples. This time I will address the new diplomates, because as I said, you will be the future leaders of surgery. And there are going to be many leadership roles that you will be bound to occupy one way or another in the horizon of your future. As surgical practitioners, you may manage a research service lab. Some of you may become section or division chiefs, training officers. A few fortunate ones will become department chairs. I hope most of you will serve the specialty societies to which you belong to, and maybe a few of you will become administrators of hospitals, medical schools, and top organizations. And I will enumerate the competencies as leaders that you may need to possess as you assume these roles. Many of you will become surgical practitioners, working mostly in our favorite playground, which is the operating room. And you will need to possess communication and teamwork to enhance patient safety, experience, and outcomes. Serve as mentors to trainees, and hopefully transform the operating rooms into a rich learning environment and be able to function as members of multidisciplinary teams. A few of you may become managers of laboratories or research labs. Here, you may need to enrich yourself with entrepreneurial skills, how to manage money, grants, and budget, hiring and firing personnel, mentoring graduate students under your tutelage, managing publications that have to be written, edited, and published, while at the same time, concurrently caring for patients. Eventually, as you go up the ladder, you may become section or division chiefs. And the leaderships needed for such a position will be the ability to develop a vision or mission for your division, showing the other colleagues in the section, how will we get there? Aligning yourself with the goals of the department, the hospital, or the medical school, creating a healthy working environment. When you become a section or division chief, this is your first time that you will be assigned a secretary, right? And here you will have to be able to direct your support staff. And since you're in the middle of the totem pole, you need to be able to develop meaningful interactions above and below you. I hope, because as Rodney mentioned, I was instrumental in creating the Philippine Association of Training Officers in Surgery. Many of you will become training officers. And it is your responsibility to develop the goals and personality of the program, motivate and at the same time discipline your residents using a variety of tactics and approaches, organize the faculty and trainees in your program, be able to balance a variety of teaching styles, be able to work with accreditation bodies. I know some of the members of the PSGS accreditation committee are here, and evolve with the changing demographics and lifestyles of our trainees. Let me make special mention that 44% of the diplomates we inducted today are female. Having a female surgeon was unheard of quite a number of decades ago. But now 44%, and it is expected to increase. We also have a millennial set of learners now. And it is not they who need to adjust to us. It is we who need to adjust to their styles of learning. Then I am hopeful that quite a number of you will become department chairs, in which you need to advocate for your department with the other chairs and hospital administration, and then be able to understand more complex things like operations, finance and accounting, managing human resources, strategic planning, reimbursement strategies, quality assessment, negotiating contracts, and resolving conflicts. This requires not just IQ. it also needs now emotional intelligence, the ability to manage change, build team, and think more systemically rather than your own self, and manage the talent and resources you have at your disposal in your department. You will be called upon to serve specialty societies, and I encourage you to do as much as you can. Now is the best time. The online platform has enabled us to meet online. I mean, I used to remember when I had PCS meetings 3 to 4 times a week, the 1.5 to 2 hours it took me to travel from PGH to travel to the PCS office, surviving the horrendous traffic each time. I think those days will be now gone. And so we will be able to democratize the participation of our society members who do not have to go there physically. And we can even have our provincial fellows and members participate in the affairs of our respective societies, which we've never had before. So here we can create and develop programs under a national organization. The joy of interacting and collaborating with national and international leaders and creating opportunities with other institutions like the Department of Health, Field Health, etc. And then finally, will be hopefully that some of you fortunate ones may become hospital administrators, directors. Here you need to develop a skill of establishing a long-term vision and strategy, creating a climate of trust and developing a positive culture in your organization. Needless to say, admittedly, political skills are going to be necessary. This includes communication, motivation, charisma, and negotiation. Unfortunately, this may require full commitment and surrender of your clinical responsibility. So really do think twice before you accept the job of being a full-time hospital administrator. But it is beneficial also in the sense that if you are able to produce an impact on the culture of the organization and change it, then that is, of course, a pleasurable outcome. Let me finalize with this summary by comparing the so-called leadership myths with or fallacies versus what evidence is showing us. Sometimes we're still told that leaders are born, not made. Leadership skills can actually be taught and learned. There is an ideal personality type that makes the best kind of leader. True, some personality traits are associated with more effective leadership, but personality does not in itself prevent anyone from being a leader. When Rodney showed that picture, I was the youngest. You can see that I was the smallest among 3 or 4 brothers in the family. I was constantly actually bullied, even in the school bus when I rode. Consultant in charge is in charge and should not be challenged. A good surgical leader is one who encourages challenge and responds constructively. Conflict is destructive and a good leader should discourage it. Healthy teams can handle differences of opinion. Constructive conflict can actually even boost creativity and lead to new ideas. Sometimes a leader has to shout at staff to make sure things get done. You're smiling because up to now, I think we still see this. Shouting and losing your temper are unprofessional and intimidating and may cause impaired decisions by staff on the receiving end. It is my name at the end of the bed, so I should be the one who makes the final decision. While it remains true that the consultant surgeon is accountable for the surgical outcome and must have the final say, we must realize that better decisions may be made with input from a wider team. Bad behavior gets results. This may be true in the short term, but it sets an unprofessional example. I think nag-lowbat ang aking computer. So bad behavior may be true in the short term, but it sets an unprofessional example. And in the long term, it damages morale and concentration of the team. I must set a higher standard than anyone else as a leader. I should lead by example. Leaders will influence others by what they say and do, but excessive perfectionism can lead to burnout and can be disempowering to others. Leaders must be charismatic. It's not really charisma. What is important more is being good communicators. Be able to inspire others with a sense of purpose, but the charisma can be destructive if overused. The team expects to be told what to do. Team members are more engaged and productive if they are involved in important decisions that affect them. I run a tight ship. We have no problems on our team. As leaders, we must create opportunities for people to raise concerns and exchange feedback. Without this, problems can go undetected and escalate later. I have difficult colleagues in my team, but it's not my job to tell them how to behave. We've all experienced this, but difficult team members who contribute to a difficult climate for the whole team. It is our responsibility to address behavior on anyone who is having a negative impact on others. Errors are unacceptable in any team. To err is human. We all make and can make mistakes. As leaders, we must make it safe for team members to identify and talk about errors, because this increases learning and reduces errors in the future. Leading surgery in today's health service is an uphill struggle. Management just will not support us. I'm sure some of us have complained like this. We must learn as leaders to work on the system to try to improve it rather than waiting for permission. We must develop relations with and influence senior management instead of criticizing them from the sidelines. Let me end with this important quote from Thomas Vargas of the American College of Surgeons. To be a leader, it is not just about you. To be effective, it starts with you. To build a legacy, dare to be you. Just these two important quotes. True leaders do not create followers. They create more leaders. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a true leader. I'd like to thank you again for this opportunity to serve as your inducting officer and keynote speaker, and I wish everyone a safe Christmas and a happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Dr. Crisostomo, may I request you to stay where you are? And may I ask the board to slowly go down for the induction?